glendalepublicworks.com or call 548-3900 for more information.
Good evening. The Design Review Board 2 public meeting of November 5th, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, needs to completely fill out one of the speakers cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You'll be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Mr. Baladian?
Yes.
Mr. Garagos?
Here.
Mr. Malikian?
Here.
Ms. Sakai? Absent. Mr. Zarifian?
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on October 29th, 2009. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wished to speak on an item not a part of this agenda? Do you have any cards? All right. We don't have any staff announcements, but I believe Mr. Reza is going to ask for a continuance on an item.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Design Review Board. The following case, case number 2-PDR-2009-058, the applicant is requesting a continuance to a date certain of November 19th, and staff would also support this continuance as well.
Okay. Do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Garagos, second by Mr. Zarifian. This will be roll call. Mr. Garagos?
Yes.
Mr. Baladian?
Yes.
Mr. Zarifian?
Yes.
Mr. Malikian?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. Thank you.
Could we actually save the packets or the information on that
Oh, sure.
application? Maybe you can just pull it out now and then,
Can I hand
Hand
it
it
to
over that
staff
way?
and have them give it back to us?
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, if you can hand it back to us, because there may be some revisions
Okay.
to the report in the packet. Thank you.
All right. Second item on the agenda. Are you ready?
Thank you, Chairman Malakian and board members. Good evening. The next project before you is located at 1535 Campbell Street. It's being submitted under case number 2 PDR 2009-061-A. It is submitted for the first time for final review. The property is zone R1 All-Floor Area District 2, and the project is a proposal to add a total of 1,700. No, I'm sorry. It's to add 1,407 square feet to an existing 1,702 square foot single-family residence. The proposal is to add to the first floor and a brand new second floor to an existing one-story house. On the ground floor, a total of 325 square feet will be added in the area between behind the house and the garage. So pretty much filling that gap there where there's an existing breezeway right now. And the rest of the square footage, which totals 1,082 square feet, will be added on the new second floor. The proposal also includes a facade remodel of the existing ranch-style house to one that has Spanish colonial revival influence. The existing lot was developed in 1951 with a one-car garage as well as a pool on a flat pad. The existing property slopes from the street to to the pad, and then it dramatically slopes up again at the rear of the house towards the rear of the lot. The subject property is located in the Verdugo Mountain South neighborhood, which is a hillside neighborhood. The primary focus of this neighborhood, per the single-family analysis and the guidelines, is that it aims to produce high-caliber homes as well as homes that reflect proportionate design and scale. The site planning of the project will be similar to the existing condition as reflected on the site plan. Again, the biggest change is the addition between the house and the garage, as well as the second floor addition. However, that will not affect the footprint of the house. The first floor addition also proposed will be a new two-car garage, which will be added to the north of the house, and the reorientation of the front entry. Right now, the front entry is facing the breezeway and the one-car garage. The proposal would reorientate that towards the interior property line, which would be facing the driveway and the motor court. The proposed second floor will be situated toward the rear of the property, away from the street. The project requires a two-car garage, but a three-car garage will be provided. No new landscape is proposed at this time. The project appears to appropriately address the overall mass and scale. For example, the second story is placed far from the street. The walls offer multiple breaks in building planes, and the balconies along the front and the side offer a sense of openness throughout the entire building. And a sensible mass and scale was also achieved through the varied roof lines and fenestration pattern. Overall, the project appears to reflect its setting and adjoining property, and respect the adjoining property as well. The overall height will be 23 feet 11 inches, which is within the height limit allowed by code. The FAR will be increased to 3,176 square feet from the existing 1,702 square feet. That amounts to 0.29 FAR. The maximum permitted square footage on this property based on the zone and the lot size is 4,559 square feet. Setback distances will not change from the existing condition based on the proposed site planning of the project. The proposed project will be designed, as I stated earlier, with influences of the Spanish colonial revival style. This style is reinforced through the use of tile roof, exposed rafter tails, and smooth stucco finish. As specified by the single-family analysis and guidelines, the materials are of high quality. And all in all, the project appears to meet the intent of the hillside design guideline, as well as the sensitivity to the neighborhood and adjoining properties. Staff recommends approval of this project with some conditions, as contained in the staff report that was sent to you. And if I may, I'd just like to make a small correction regarding the conditions. Condition number 5 and 8 appears to be the same. I, for some reason, did not pick that up. So, condition number 1, provide a new decorative driveway.
It must be a very important condition.
Yeah, we highlighted it twice.
Yes. Number 1, provide a new decorative driveway and motor court, either of interlocking pavers or a similar decorative design of a permeable material. 2, the existing retaining walls located at the rear of the residence should be modified and treated with decorative texture or stone. 3, exterior wall surfaces should be smooth steel trowel finish, not machine applied. 3, the entry doors should be solid wood panel as reflected on the elevation drawing. 5, garage doors should be panel wood or fiberglass, not steel, of a design shown on the elevation. 6, 2-piece roof tile should be used. 7, the wrought iron on all balconies should be of a simple, straight vertical design, painted black or bronze. And 8, will strike. 9, all windows and door openings should be recessed from the face of the wall. And 10, treatment of the exposed rafter tails shall comply with the fire department requirements. And that concludes my presentation. The owner as well as applicants are here to present the project as well and to answer any question you may have.
Actually, I have a question. Number 2, it says existing retaining wall. All they need to do is attach a stone. That's what you're proposing? Something?
Correct. Not tearing it out and rebuild it, but
Okay.
to dress it up to make it
Okay.
decorative since.
Any questions for staff?
I'd mentioned to Villia that there might be discrepancy in the 3D. Did you get that note? You never got that note?
No.
In the what?
Okay, I had mentioned, it appears like when you look on the 3D shots, it doesn't look like they're properly expressing the height of the roof. It looks like it's like an 8-foot plate, not a 9-foot plate, if you look at it. When you look on the elevation, it's a 9-foot plate, and there's a considerable wall above the window. And then when you look at the 3D, on the second floor, there's really not any wall above the window. Which is going to be one of my concerns, that there was a lot of height above the window. It would be kind of top-heavy, so. I mentioned, you weren't around yesterday, I told Willie that she thought,
No,
I thought she was going to tell
I
you, so.
missed that.
Okay.
We can maybe have the applicant clarify.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
fine, I just want to know if he had
reference.
heard of that note. Okay.
Okay. Vic Moradi?
Good evening, board members. My name is Vic Marty and Marty & Associates, Inc., 416 North Glendale Avenue. I'm the consultant on the project and the designer. I want to first thank staff for describing the project. I think they did a very well job. At this time, I'd like to give you a signed document of the neighbors. 13 out of the 15 have signed part of the project. Mr. Chair and board members, I want to first give you a brief history on the project. If you can allow me a few additional minutes if necessary, it will be greatly appreciated. The owner has attempted to obtain a design review board approval 6 times from 2002 to 2007 with different consultants, architects, designers, and he hasn't been successful through all this. The issues were, after reviewing the files, and I met Mr. Rubin in 2007 after reviewing the previous design review board file. The main issues were mass, scale, style, size, compatibility. At that time, the house was proposed to be 4,500 square feet, and of course now you see it as reduced drastically. And the wishes of the owner was to do a Mediterranean home. Of course, after further discussion and quite convincing was done, it was our opinion that a hybrid Mediterranean was not the direction of design on this particular site. And due to the fact that Mediterranean homes have a rectangular shaped floor plan and symmetrical facade, which tends to be more massive in scale, and it was conflicting with the hillside design guidelines. We met with staff and presented several ideas, such as the Mediterranean and the Spanish, of course, that you see, and contemporary modern. And during this time, we also discussed the design with the neighbors, and they all supported more of a traditional style home for that neighborhood, and they thought the contemporary design will belong in a beach community. So they flatly said, go build it in the beach. The design you see in front of you, as stated in the staff report, is a Spanish revival. The approach was to provide reduced mass, simplicity, and sensitive to the neighborhood, and also meeting the hillside design guidelines. And I think, in our opinion, we have achieved that. The house is proposed to be 3,100 square feet, which is about 200 square feet over the average. The footprint, as staff described, is essentially the same. The major addition is on the second floor. And, of course, you see the setbacks, undulations, and the building sits back as much as possible. We've pushed this design to the back as much as possible. There's no more room to push it any further. And if you see in the renderings, we did a streetscape rendering there. Due to the vegetation and mature trees, the house is really not visible. Only portion of the second floor is visible. And we are not planning to change any of the landscaping. It stays the same. And we are using high-quality material. Some of the conditions are already dictated on the plans as far as the two-piece mission tile and the smooth stucco trolley finish. And the windows will be recessed, will comply with the conditions, and of course we'll provide the pavers with your desire. I have some samples if you'd like to look at it later on. I'll be happy to present it to you. With that, and with your review and staff's recommendation, hopefully we can achieve a further successful project. And I'd like to answer your question, Board Member Giragos. The ceiling plate line, the existing is 8'3". We are trying to keep that. It's raised floor. Maybe that's where the discrepancy is shown, but it's supposed to be 8'3" on the first floor and 9 feet on the second floor.
Yeah, my question was, when you look at the 3D that you did, it's the second floor issue that is what I'm talking about. It appears in the 3D that you've put the roof lower than it would be at 9 foot.
Because of the overhang, we have 2-foot overhang, and the rafter tails in the building kind of is tweaked in some way on the plan.
No, I understand that, but you're shooting at a very low angle on the 3D, and it really doesn't appear like it has the same amount of area above the window. So that was my concern, is that...
Well, we'll make it...
My issue was that there is a lot of area above the window when you look in the elevation.
Yeah.
So it might seem a little top-heavy, and then the 3D didn't seem to express that, so
Well,
it was my question. So.
We'll make it work.
That's fine. I was just hoping I was hoping it wouldn't be resolved here. I was hoping that it would have made it around in the message.
Okay.
And we could have...
And if you have any other
Addressed it
questions,
earlier.
I'll
Yeah.
be happy to answer.
Sure.
Thank you. Is it Ruben Barikian?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, staff.
State
My name is
your
Ruben
name
Barikian, and I'm the
address.
owner of the property on 1505 Campbell Street. I just need to make a little correction. There is immediate neighbors, about 15 of them in my neighborhood, and 13 of them has been presented project. They review it and they signed it as an approval. 2 of them, I left a letter with them, and they never came back to me. I didn't have a chance to show them or to talk to them. So, all the other 13, they have their phone numbers. If you have any questions, you can contact them. Thank you.
Okay. If you have any more questions, if you don't, I'll close the public hearing. Public session is closed. Any comments? You want to go?
So with
Mrs. Zervia?
I think, generally speaking, I think it's a very nice design. I don't have any big issues with anything. I think some of the staff comments, for example, the windows. When I looked at the window type that's been provided, I think it's a very good quality, but I think for a building of this scale, pushing the windows back and expressing the openings as a sort of a having more weight will help the overall building mass. So I agree with that comment. I wasn't sure about the driveway question of paving, that how far the staff was recommending the paving to go, because it seems like it's showing concrete paving. Is that
Right now it's asphalt.
Oh, it's asphalt.
Asphalt. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it seems. I would also agree with that, if possible, to That's a condition, I guess, right?
Yes.
That will definitely help the building to come down to the right ground, because you have really made it a very good effort in making this a very nice and sort of it's a beautiful design, but it has to come down to the right ground. So the right ground will make a big difference. So I would tend to agree with that comment. Hopefully it will be within the budget. It's a pretty big area. Then the existing retaining walls, tell you the truth, I haven't seen the actual walls, what they look like. Are they just concrete block? Yeah, there are many ways that you can probably make that a better looking wall, hopefully, because they're pretty massive. But all of these comments seem like they're in the photograph. Let's see, because I see a very large wall in one of the sides. Is that, or are all of them that high? So yeah,
Try to.
Yeah, do you have something to? Can he make a comment?
You need to step.
Yeah.
Is this?
Those are the walls, yeah. Those are in the
The
back.
highest?
Those are the highest
Highest one.
the highest walls.
Oh,
They're about 45 feet. But if I may, board members, Sarafian, generally speaking, homes in this category of design, utilizes also stucco for the walls. I mean, that's an option that I'm open to versus, because of budget issues.
yeah.
If you can, look at that point of view
As an option.
as an option versus stone treatment.
Um,
Or we can do both, I mean, one or the other.
Yeah, I have seen that done, and it improves. It's definitely an improvement to just a simple concrete block.
No, absolutely.
Board Member Sarifian, if I may, while a stucco wall is an improvement over a concrete wall, stucco wall do not meet the intent of the zoning code as being decorative. So it would have to be either applied with some sort of stone veneer or poor textured type of concrete finish.
Mm-hmm.
But stucco would not would not meet the code.
The code. Then that's, if that's a code issue, that's a different. Different
Well, we'll
story.
treat it with some, I mean, we have, River Rock in the front, which is in the public right-of-way. Actually, it's not river, it's washed, or you can call it fieldstone. But that's not really the direction we wanted to go, maybe something more simpler. Otherwise, we'll be...
I'm sure you can probably find some applied systems that.
Well, yeah, culture
Can be.
stone, Coronado stone makes some treatments on the walls, and we'll work with
but
staff.
I think it's a good comment. I mean, you've really taken the house to a level that the surrounding plays that much role in its appearance as the house itself.
Of course, yeah.
So-
And also the pavers, that was something we were going to do anyway, but we didn't show it on the plan. It was going to happen in the future as the time and the budget allows us. Thank you.
While you're on the sun, I have a quick question. On the east elevation,
Are you done?
sorry,
No, yeah. Maybe I'll finish and then.
okay, go
Oh, yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. No, I thought you were
you
done.
can wait.
Either way. I mean,
Well,
it doesn't
Let him
matter.
finish, and then he can ask you a question.
Okay. The garage doors, as far as the steel versus fiberglass, I'm not sure. What can you tell me a little bit about what I'm asking you?
Rather.
What's the kind of reason for going to fiberglass rather
Well,
than steel?
I think that the reason is just the same as what you have been alluding to, that the applicant has taken such drastic measure in making improvements to this property, and given that steel garage doors are proposed, would not be in keeping with the overall design aesthetic, even though it could be argued that it's not easily recognizable as being steel from far away, or in this case, they are not even visible to the public right away. But just because the applicant is proposing to do so much that would greatly improve this project, that it's in keeping with the overall design aesthetic and using high quality material.
Some of the steel doors that I've seen are far better than
fiberglass.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, yeah.
I would think that probably steel doors
Probably better choice.
would be better. It feels to me it's a better quality. I mean, has the right kind of grade of roughness to it as the building weight. So I would think that steel doors would be just fine.
Would there be
Very good. Thank you so much. The restaurant is a two-piece. I'm sort of ambivalent about the two-piece versus two-piece tile versus S shape. I think the general building itself has very smooth surfaces. So how rustic the roof wants to be, it seems like it won't make a big difference from my perspective. Obviously, it's always better to be true to Spanish architecture. Two pieces is the way to go. But in this case, my feeling is sort of I can go either way. But those are generally what I felt. I think some of the windows you can make it larger in general.
We had them before because of the style. Oh, we can in some of them. But
yeah, particularly one of them at the kitchen nook seemed like it can be used more.
Well, I think I want to direct the questions rather than asking him if he wants to do it or not. So if you have any questions.
No, that's basically a recommendation.
Okay.
That I'm making. It's not. I'm not that.
Oh, so the windows, make the windows.
No, I mean I think the building in general can use in particular.
Do you have any,
some.
Yeah, specific.
No, I started by talking about the nook on the south elevation. I think generally the elevation looks quite nice, but if I was in the kitchen, and sitting on the nook table, I would think that you have the overhang, you have everything to make that.
yeah, we can make that certainly larger.
That as an example, and some of them seems like the ratio of the openings on some of the elevations can improve in relation to the surfaces that they're kind of.
We can certainly.
For the board's information, staff had recommended to the applicant to reduce the size of the windows so that the window-to-wall ratio would be, in our view, in keeping with the style. So we just wanted to fess up to that. If the board disagrees, of course, we always learn from the board.
I'm not saying that you need to improve them drastically. This is just, I think they have room to grow just a bit more if they need to, because some of the surfaces are quite large, and then the windows look
kind of minimal in terms of the ability to connect to the rectangle of its surface in a stronger way, rather than looking.
Thanks for that clarification.
But that's what I'm.
So on the sort of forms and pieces of the building where, like on the ground floor east elevation, maybe the two windows on either side of the entry could be larger, for example.
Yeah.
Because we very clearly asked the applicant to reduce much of the windows on that elevation because it was beginning to appear a little bit more like a contemporary building. You know, that's very often the challenge.
Yeah, no, I think obviously you have to find the right balance, but I wasn't saying to blow it up to twice as big, but you just have to, I mean, you can use your discretion in finding the right balance.
Thanks for the clarification.
Let's see if I've missed anything. That's decorative driveway, the existing. No, I think basically that's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have one question and then I'll give my comments. On the east elevation, I can't see it, but I don't know if it's my eyes or...
There's a larger one on sheet A6.
The A6, on the second level, those windows on each side, are they the same size or are they different size?
Well, the one on the left, if you're looking at the page, are...
They're not the question is, are they the same size or they're not the same
They're
size?
not same.
They're not, so okay. Okay, thanks.
It's on a skew.
Huh?
It's on a skew. This one's on a skew. I think this one's on
He
a
said
skew.
they're not.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
So they're not the same size.
They're not the same size. The height is the same, but the width is a little different.
Okay.
And of course, the angle of that wall makes it...
Yeah, I know it's on the angle, but I want to make sure if you're using the same size. Okay,
It's the
thanks.
width only, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Okay. You answered all the questions. Pretty much, I don't have any problem with this project. I like it. It's pretty clean. And I agree with the staff recommendations, all of it. And pretty much, Mr. Zarifian asked all the questions. I don't have any other questions or recommendations on this, except I would like to propose a condition that we put a line, something that once you get this project approved, not to allow any substitution of material or modifying the changes, such as like most of the time contractors, they like to in order to save some money, to cancel the corbels they exposed and wrap it up with the stucco and get it done during construction. I've seen it, but I want to make sure, because this type of project, the whole beauty about this building is the details and the materials. And whatever you're proposing, the details are pretty, I don't have any problem. The windows, no substitution with vinyl or anything else during construction. The way I see it, I like it. On the second floor, those windows, maybe you should match the size, maybe control the size of the width of the windows, maybe make it a little bit more uniform, because you have two double windows side by side, maybe to make it even size, maybe it will be, that's a recommendation. As well as the driveway, I think you have to do it. You have to do, during construction, that driveway is going to be destroyed. I guarantee it. With containers going and coming, they're going to destroy it. So you might, as well, you're going to have to redo that driveway. We don't have any proposal, right, for the driveway?
Nope.
No. So, what else?
Here's a condition, though.
There's a condition. Well, I agree with all the conditions that you guys have, so I don't have any objections to it. There was another note that was somewhere here. I don't have problem with the steel garage door as well. If the client proposed the garage door to be steel, I'd rather see the steel than fiberglass. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks.
Mr. Girgos?
Yeah, I also think it's a nicely done project. I do still have an issue, though, with the area that's above the window. I think, especially when you look in the 3D and you see, you're really going to be seeing the second floor mostly, and you're going to be looking at it from below. All those things are going to emphasize that area above the window. And I do agree that the windows are kind of small, and I think that, again, it kind of reinforces
Maybe
how
they
it's
can
top-heavy.
use some height at the second floor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily mind the 9, just that the way it's done emphasizes that it's kind of top-heavy. I know, they're showing a shadow here, which kind of diminishes that issue. And there are some within this style where they do a very subtle band at the top of the wall that's only about an inch out, just to make a little bit of band that the windows kind of tuck up to. It might be one way of kind of addressing that. You could also do maybe a 7-foot header on the upstairs windows. Again, just try to get them a little bit higher, which might let them do a little bit bigger window and still keep it in proportion.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it, but it could have helped your concern.
Yeah, just to raise the header a little bit.
Yeah. Because I think it's nice to have the second floor have more light come in and be more open to the sky.
Because when you look at the east elevation, they have that nice porch there and the detailing on it. The header that's going on that porch is about, it's about 7 foot, maybe 7'6", something like that. So if that was the kind of the line of that second floor, you did a band, and then, that would let you maybe make the window a little taller or wider or something. Yeah. I don't know how you want to word that, if it needs to be a condition or not. At least make it a recommendation. I'd be comfortable with that. Because I think it needs to be addressed somehow.
I think it's going to definitely address both of your concerns. So.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was about it. I think all the rest is fine.
Okay. All right. Going back to the retaining wall, how much authority do we have to address that, cladding it with stucco versus stone? Is it something that we have no way of putting it as a condition? Because I really think with this architecture, there's no stone. I think it's just going to punch that retaining wall out if we're going to address that retaining wall.
Do you define texture?
No, we only talk about something being decorative, but these are existing walls, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. New retaining walls clearly have to be of a decorative material. I believe this is a recommendation. Is this a recommendation that we made for these walls?
It was a recommendation, but we're thinking of doing it,
As a condition.
Right.
Well, you can condition it to be
We can.
decorative. Yes.
But we can't. Can we condition it as a stucco?
Stucco.
Again, it's not a new wall, so the code doesn't require a new wall or a existing wall
I see.
to be decorative.
I see.
If as long as the wall is permitted.
So glad you're here.
Me too.
The institutional memory.
Yes.
Yeah, it's new walls again, but your authority. I mean, the flip side of it is the authority that you have would allow you to take an existing wall if you felt that wall would look better and be more compatible with the architecture of the house. You can condition it to be modified.
Okay.
No.
But if it was a new wall,
Well,
you could not do that.
The question is stucco, not
Okay,
cladding.
can you require a existing wall to be stuccoed?
Yes.
Okay. That's a pretty interesting question because it is an existing wall. It's not a new wall. And new walls clearly can't be stucco. Although I think I may agree with where Stephanie was going here is that stucco really is prohibited as a material for a retaining wall.
Because the wall is just...
But it also, again, it has to be visible. This has to be a wall that's visible
It's
to the
not.
public
It's not.
It's not.
It's behind.
or
the-
surrounding neighbors. I mean, if it's not visible,
It's behind the building.
then
I mean,
it
it's
doesn't
right-
have to be decorative.
What does texture mean then?
I mean, it's clearly behind the
Stucco
building.
textured?
Sure. I mean, again, if the wall's not visible, if you read the code section, it says that if it's visible to the public or surrounding properties, then it must be of a decorative material. If it's not visible,
Well, no, we're talking about this right here, which is back.
There are other ones.
On the front.
They should start with some of the buildings.
okay, if again it's not visible, then that decorative requirement goes away.
I have a question. I need to clarify for you. If it's an existing wall, and if they're not required to do anything, right?
That's correct.
Okay. If it's not visible from the street and it's in the back, let's say this wall, let's say around the pool area, a retaining wall, and it's not visible at all, and the applicant decide, okay, I want to do stucco, smooth stucco to match the new building finish.
That's what we're asking.
I know. I think they should.
Well,
If it's not-
You're saying it's not visible, you're not bound by the hillside.
You're not bound
By the hillside ordinance.
if it's not visible.
So they could do it then.
Even if it's a new wall.
Well,
Yeah.
Because we have had individuals before that have come to the public counter to construct a retaining wall in the R1 or ROS zones, and they, emphatically state, no one will see this wall. Therefore, I want it to be stucco. We can't require them if they meet that criteria. Now, it can be a design decision, but if we do let them do that, we will have a note. We will ask the inspector to make sure that nobody can see that wall. And unfortunately, in many instances, somebody can see that wall.
Can I ask just the interpretation of why, let's say, if we're, I mean, this is just for my understanding, if we're dealing with a modern house, let's say, and there are absolutely no decorative brick or block walls out there that work with this, and why can't we just have them do like a pour-in-place smooth concrete finish retaining wall?
This is Howard's area. I'm gonna pose that concrete is not prohibited by the zoning code as a finish for decorative wall, and very often we will recommend to our clients that, well, sometimes we'll say a wall with formwork to blend into the hillside, but a smooth concrete wall is not prohibited. It's a stucco wall that is prohibited by the code because it's so visibly different than the hillside.
I see.
When it's visible from.
But if the intent is to make the retaining wall look coherent
They're
with
trying
the
to make
building.
the hill look more like. They're trying to make the
they-
retaining wall look more like the hill rather than the house.
Yeah, I think probably it will help if the retaining wall looks.
That really is correct. I mean, that is
done
more
by
to the
the
point.
color also.
Yeah, because a lot of people do the split face block wall, and we always ask for the colored grout, to match the hillside.
Right.
Whether that actually matches the house color, that's something else.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and then my last consideration is if we're proposing any wrought iron on the building, and if we're going to go with the more simpler wrought iron, I'm not sure if we are going that route, then if you're not going to replace the wrought iron along the front or facing the street between the retaining walls, if you're going to leave it as is, maybe bring some consistency with the new and so you don't have all kinds of different wrought irons all over the house. So I think those are the two concerns that I have. Other than that, I think site planning is fine, the massing is fine. I have no problem with the, how far the driveway goes. I think it's a good idea for them to address the asphalt. And, if you can, I don't know if we're putting it as a condition, but if you can, rather than putting veneer on the retaining wall on the back, I think stucco would work better with being that it is a low wall and it will work with the building itself. So, having said that, do we want to hear the conditions or considerations and then make a motion, please? Yeah. We're not putting a, you need to step back, I'll look at it and then yeah. We're not really conditioning the type of the finish, but I think it needs to be decorative. I feel comfortable with whatever works. I mean, unless we want to go with a specific design or a look or a material.
Staff can do that.
I think
Staff
can take care of it. So I think these are fine.
Because you're going to end up replacing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with your comment. During construction,
Yeah,
it'll be destroyed.
and that's fine.
Thank you.
Well, staff heard that generally the board supports the project, including staff's recommendation for conditions with a couple of exceptions. One being that the garage door may be constructed out of steel as opposed to fiberglass.
Right.
And that the wrought iron fencing at the front should be replaced to be consistent with the design of the wrought irons on the balconies. That no substitution of any materials or changes in the design shall be allowed during construction.
If I may, I would suggest consideration of softening that condition or providing more specific direction, maybe it's materials and details. With a condition like that, it would be very challenging for us and for the applicant if something changed during construction because of a technical issue, a site issue, some unforeseen issue. Construction is messy. This happens all the time. And staff would suggest having some level of flexibility to approve changes that are in keeping with the quality of the design.
Isn't that the general condition present in all projects that we...
way that Mr. Duong read it back sounds more restrictive than the standard
what
we
I'm saying
usually
is
have.
that the general rule that's unspoken is that what we set out as the direction should be followed unless some site condition that's unforeseen or
That's right. What you approve is what you approve, and we think very seriously about these meetings, the time you spend preparing for these meetings, and the time spent in these meetings.
We don't need to really have it, right?
There are changes that are asked for. You can imagine all kinds of changes that are asked for during the construction process. Sometimes there are material substitutions. For example, on this project, there are aluminum-clad wood windows proposed. We have heard from you that fiberglass windows are also acceptable for projects like this. So if the applicant came to us and for whatever reason wanted to provide a fiberglass window or a fiberglass-clad window rather than aluminum-clad, we would generally say, we've heard from the board that those are all good quality windows. We can say, okay, we would not approve a vinyl window substitution, for example. But with the condition, as Mr. Duong read it, we would essentially be prohibited from making even those small changes. So that's the difference.
The reason I made that comment, it's because sometimes I've seen it happen. I'm not saying it will happen in this project. When you have this type of caliber of design, and it's a pretty nice neighborhood, expensive area, and you have nice homes in the area, and it happened to me personally with other homes that I designed, and during construction, not the owner specifically, the contractor will intend to change to simplify the project, and they don't look the big picture of the design. And that's why the clients are in front of this board to get approval, have the direction to make sure the design is done properly. And then, for instance, just eliminating those exposed corbels or exposed rafters, the decorative, will change the whole look of that house design. I don't know if I'm wrong.
We agree with you. We
And-
see that all the time, especially on a house design like this. So we are very sensitive to that. That brings up one issue that I wanted to specifically mention. Condition number 10, treatment of exposed rafter tails shall comply with the fire department requirements. Specifically on the exposed rafter tails in the R1R and ROS zones, the applicant will need to provide a detail of the assembly so that the fire department will accept it. Very often, the architect or contractor will come to us and ask us, or sometimes even build it, without the exposed rafter tails, or enclose the rafter tails, or sheathe them with stucco, or so on. So this is why we included that particular condition in the list of conditions. One question that we have, one of the details that we've seen to address this issue, is to have the horizontal surface, essentially the soffit surface, stuccoed with the rafter tails as wood exposed. And the fire department does accept that. In the past, staff has felt that that meets the intention of the design. We wanted to ask you about that because in the rendering...
The fire department going to require a heavier timber on those. I mean, it could be done. The thing is, the way they have it right now, the proposed elevation, it could be done and will meet the fire department requirement in the hillside. What they have to use is the heavier timber, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And they're okay.
I just want to, if there's such a drastic design change, meaning there's only like 4 different materials being proposed, stucco, stone, the windows, and the, corbel, if such a drastic change is going to be occurring to this project that the corbels are going to be gone, we want to see it. But if the windows need to be moved left or right because of the shear wall, or the engineer comes and says, you know what, we need 3 extra feet of window, then the size of the window you need to reduce it, or you're going to move it to the left or right. You guys can deal with that.
Okay, so if the condition were to read, because I do agree that if it's conditioned, it highlights this to our inspectors, it highlights this issue to us and to the contractor and applicant team. So if I could suggest such a condition could read, special attention should be paid to the details as presented and should not vary from the details as presented in their design and intent.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. That's fine.
Thank you for that clarification.
Very welcome.
Okay, next.
And staff also heard that on the second floor of the east elevation, the windows should be uniform in size.
I think it's, I'll leave it up to the applicant, but I think something needs to be addressed there where either the window gets larger, it may has a higher header height, or there's a subtle band at the top. Something to address the fact that there's a lot of wall above the window. More than would be there if it was an 8-foot plate, like downstairs.
Okay. And that's just on the east elevation only.
I mean, it's around. It'll be a detail that you would do around the house. It would be around the house.
And also concerning windows, this was from Mr. Sarafian. He suggested that some windows can be larger. There needs to be a balance between wall surfaces and window openings, generally all around the house. And I think that's all. Mr. Garagos, you stated that, again, this is pertaining to what we just talked about. Areas above the windows appears to be top-heavy. Maybe correct this by using 7-foot headers on the upstairs windows.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And
Mr. Zarifian also mentioned the use of S-tile rather than two-piece barrel tile.
Yeah, because it was a condition to use.
Right. That's typically what the board asks for, so we've been starting to put that condition. So if there's agreement.
No, I
would like to see
kind
a
of
two-piece, though. But
yeah, if the board likes to see two-piece,
I think
can
this
go
is how
either
they're
way.
trying for. I think it should be two-piece. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's all I got, unless Ms. Wright has something else to add that I may have missed.
I think we're set.
Okay,
So make a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Garagos,
But second, we have the second, right?
Yes.
You are the second.
second by Mr. Sarafian. So this will be roll call. Mr. Garagos,
Yes.
Mr. Sarafian,
Yes.
Mr. Boladian,
Yes.
Mr. Kai is absent, Chairman Malakian.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, we have 3 sets of minutes that we were going to try to approve. However, with Ms. Sakai's absence, we cannot approve any of them. So we'll put them on the next agenda.
Okay, and our next agenda is on the 19th, correct?
That is correct.
Oh, and wanted to mention that the board, DRB1, I guess, would typically meet on Thanksgiving Day, which we will not be meeting on Thanksgiving Day. I'm sure our audience will regret that they won't have their entertainment during the Thanksgiving mealtime. So sorry about that. And there will be no meeting for the design review boards December 17th, December 24th, or December 31st.
Also, we only have.
all those evenings.
I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully.
We're only going to have 2 more meetings this year.
That's right.
The 19th and the 3rd.
That's right.
Maybe.
And that is amazing.
So we hope to see you then.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
then we're adjourned. Thank you.